Now, Dr. Castro, I'd like to ask you this next question. So you approach this through culture and identity. I'm curious, how do you see culture shaping the way adults with ADHD communicate in the workplace?
I would say that culture and identity have a huge role in how we communicate. Culture and identity is something that all of us carry with us. We learn about communication like from culture since we're babies, before you even have a job, right? And so then all of a sudden, when we get into a workspace, we start learning about professionalism and what does professionalism look like. And when you take into consideration in the Latina community, some cultural values could include humility, respect, and collectivism. So, if those are values that we get, at least I can speak within the Latina community, and even in my own experience as a daughter of Peruvian immigrants, we often get taught these values so early on, it gets ingrained in us, and then it starts to show up how we communicate at work, which could create some challenges. For example, where if we really value respect, it makes it hard to advocate for ourselves. When it comes to humility, we might over apologize for mistakes, or we may even struggle with talking highly of ourselves when it's time for that annual
Hmm.
review to get
Yeah.
a promotion or get an increase in salary. Collectivism plays a really big role in terms of harmony and caring for the better of the group. And sometimes that might mean that we prioritize harmony over any conflict, which can make it really hard to advocate. While there are those challenges, there's also strengths. When we think about the Latina culture, collectivism, the importance of a group, also means that the other side of it is we really care about community building. And we could really benefit from community building as a powerful tool in workspaces. Another cultural strength is storytelling and humor. Being able to
Hmm.
use those different tools as communication strategies that comes and it is influenced by culture and identity allows
Hmm.
us to see the dynamic between adults with ADHD that come from these different cultural backgrounds don't just struggle with communication, they also bring very powerful, culturally rooted ways of connecting that workplaces could really benefit from.
Thank you. Thank you for that. It's really important to acknowledge culture and how it shapes us, no matter how we have labeled ourselves. Our experiences show through our culture, which has shaped us. So let's close this with something a little more personal. Dr. Castro, you emphasize that rest and self-compassion, people think about those as really personal me things. How can those be built on how professionals approach communication challenges?
When it comes to rest and self compassion, those are very critical tools and builds the foundation for clearer and kinder communication when we're at work or even personal relationships. Because rest allows us to give our brain that space to reset. So that way we can process information and also be more thoughtful with our responses. And then the self compassion piece is really critical because it allows us to be able to recognize when maybe self critical talk or shame is starting to creep up due to miscommunication or misunderstanding in communication. And we get to practice that self compassion and pause and try again, right? Because that's part of communication, just as we've been talking here, is everybody has different styles to communicate. So it's not going to look perfectly. And I think that if we can make space for that, then hopefully it allows for less communication challenges, especially because when we're burned out at work, that often leads to very reactive responses. Like we become very short, very defensive, maybe cynical and avoidant. And so that's why rest and self compassion is so important. And I think this shift can turn these communication challenges into opportunities to connect and grow and show up as professionals with clarity, patience, and authenticity.
Wow. Thank you so much for that. Yes, I keep making faces over here because I'm resonating with everything. I used to go